Welcome back to Antique Coins Information, the place where hidden treasures come to life. Today, we're counting down the top 5 most valuable and rare USA Lincoln wheat pennies that have shocked the coin collecting world with prices reaching into the millions. If you love discovering coins that turn pocket change into life-changing fortune, you're in the right place. Let's uncover the rarest wheat cents ever found and see what makes them worth so much. If you've ever held a wheat penny in your hand, you know there's something magical about it. A small copper coin, barely weighing anything, yet somehow carrying nearly a century of American history. And today, we're diving into one of the most fascinating coins ever struck inside the United States Mint, the 1944 no-mint mark Lincoln wheat penny. This is a coin millions of people own without knowing the real hidden story behind it, and for some, it has turned into a life-changing treasure. In this video, we're going deep into its background, its varieties, its metal mysteries, the incredible mistakes born during wartime production, and how a simple penny from 1944 can transform from pocket change into real money if you know what to look for. There's a reason collectors call the 1944 penny a gateway coin. It's the coin many Americans stumble upon first, maybe inside old coffee cans, dusty jars, inherited boxes, or tucked away inside dresser drawers passed down from grandparents. Because 1944 came right after the wild experiment of 1943 steel pennies, millions of collectors pay attention to these years more than any other era in Lincoln cents. The 1944 no-mint mark penny, struck only at the Philadelphia Mint, was made in enormous numbers. Over 1 billion of them left the presses. But quantity doesn't always mean common, because only a small percentage survive in the highest grades, and an even smaller number carry the rare errors or special traits that turn an ordinary coin into a jackpot. To understand why the 1944 penny exists in such high demand, we need to go back to the middle of World War II. America was pouring metal resources into the war effort. Copper was desperately needed to build ammunition, shell casings, aircraft wiring, and battlefield communications equipment. Because of that shortage, the U.S. Mint made a bold decision in 1943 to remove copper from the penny entirely, switching to zinc-coated steel. But the steel cents were a disaster. They rusted easily, they jammed vending machines, they confused banks and cashiers, and they looked too much like dimes. People disliked them from the moment they appeared. So in 1944, the Mint reversed course, bringing back copper, but not the same copper they had used before. Wartime penny production was fueled by recycled metal from ammunition shells used by soldiers overseas. Imagine that for a moment. A 1944 penny in your hand today might actually contain metal that once sat inside a military bunker, traveled across the ocean inside supply crates, or supported the soldiers who fought during one of the most intense periods in history. These coins are literally minted from remnants of the war. Collectors love this connection, and it's one reason why the 1944 penny, even without rare errors, is always in demand. It carries real history in its metal, but what separates an ordinary 1944 penny from a valuable one capable of selling for hundreds, thousands, or more? The answer lies in grade, condition, and rarity. Most 1944 pennies show heavy wear because people use them every day for decades. The ones that look dull, scratched, brown, or flattened around Lincoln's face are usually worth a few cents. They're still historic, but not rare. However, if your 1944 penny still shines with original red luster, if the details in Lincoln's hair remain crisp, if the wheat stalks on the reverse still show sharp lines, then you have a coin that moves into collector territory. High-grade examples graded by companies like PCGS or NGC can reach values far beyond what most owners expect. But condition is only the beginning. Error coins are where the story gets exciting. The 1944 penny has one of the most famous and dramatic error families in the entire Lincoln cent series: leftover steel planchets. When the Mint switched back to copper, tiny batches of steel blanks from the previous year were accidentally fed into the coin press. This happened at all 3 mints, Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco. But the no-mint mark Philadelphia version is among the most famous. These 1944 steel pennies are not only rare, they're legendary. They show up maybe once in a generation, and every new discovery makes headlines in the coin world. If you ever find one, a magnet will stick to it instantly because steel is magnetic. That's the first test that collectors use. A true 1944 steel cent is worth an enormous amount, far more than most people could imagine, especially if it's in good condition. But that's not the only error to look out for. Some 1944 pennies were struck off-center, creating fascinating crescent-shaped missing portions around the rim. Others show double dies, meaning the design was imprinted twice, creating shadow-like doubling on the date or lettering. Some have clipped planchets, where a portion of the metal blank is missing before striking. These errors dramatically raise the value of the coin because they are visually stunning and extremely collectible. Even a normal 1944 penny, if preserved in a perfect state, can reach sizable value. Collectors assign these coins labels like red, red-brown, or brown. A bright red coin from 1944, free of scratches and spots, is incredibly difficult to find today. Most of these cents circulated in the pockets of millions of Americans during the 1940s, 1950s, and 1960s. They rode inside children's piggy banks, passed through grocery stores, paid for newspapers, and soda fountain treats. Finding one that escaped all that handling is rare. It's that rarity that makes the highest grading examples shoot up in price. Imagine a coin minted 80 years ago that still looks fresh from the press. No marks, no fingerprints, no fading. That's when collectors start competing at auctions, and when bidding wars begin, prices skyrocket. But the 1944 penny is more than a collectible. It's also a time capsule. Every single one of these coins was struck during a moment when the world was changing dramatically. Families lived with ration books. Soldiers wrote letters from Europe and the Pacific. Factories ran day and night. And pennies traveled everywhere, through ration stations, newspaper stands, movie theaters, and busy train platforms. These pennies existed in a world buzzing with fear, hope, and transformation. When you find a clean and preserved one today, it's almost like running into a perfectly frozen piece of American history. So how do you know if your 1944 penny is one of the valuable ones? Start with the basics. Look carefully at the coin's color. Does it still have its original red shine? Or has it darkened to a chocolate brown? Examine Lincoln's beard, hair, eye, and collar line. The more details visible, the higher the potential grade. Then flip the coin over. On the wheat stalks, look for clear, individual lines. Check the lettering for sharpness. And of course, check for any unusual features, doubling, off-center strikes, clipped edges, or that rare steel composition. If you see rust-free silver color instead of copper, test it with a magnet. But remember, many fake steel pennies exist, so professional grading is always recommended before estimating real value. And if your penny looks unusually well preserved, glowing with luster, consider sending it for grading. It could be worth far more than you expect. Collectors today buy 1944 pennies not just for their monetary worth but for the story they hold. The wartime connection, the unique metal source, and the famous errors make this coin one of the most exciting wheat cents for beginners and experts alike. Whether your coin is a circulated brown piece from a pocket jar or a gleaming red gem that survived untouched for decades, it's part of one of the most important chapters of American coinage. And now, the part you've been waiting for, the kind of auction result that changes the way you look at a penny forever. Because one single 1944 no-mint mark Lincoln wheat penny, preserved in extraordinary condition and verified by expert graders, sold for an astonishing amount, $47,266. The year was 1946, a turning point in American history. The Second World War had just come to an end, soldiers were returning home, and the nation was stepping into a new era of rebuilding, hope, and rapid economic change. In the middle of this transformation, something small, something many people never paid attention to, entered circulation and quietly became a significant treasure for collectors many decades later. That treasure is the 1946 no-mint mark Lincoln wheat penny. Today, this little copper coin has become one of the most sought-after mid-century wheat pennies, not only for its historical context but also for the surprising value it can command in high-grade condition. And in this video, we will take a deep dive into what makes this coin special, why collectors chase it, the mistakes and varieties that make it valuable, and how you can identify a potentially rare example hiding in your own collection or pocket change. When people look at wheat pennies, they often underestimate the importance of the post-war era coins. While the 1946 penny was minted in large numbers, not all of them survived in the sharp, crisp, fully red condition that collectors pay a premium for. Most circulated for decades, passing through thousands of hands, losing their luster, collecting scratches, dents, and signs of heavy wear. But a tiny fraction of these coins avoided circulation almost entirely. Some were placed in savings jars, some were forgotten in drawers and cigar boxes, while others were preserved unintentionally inside envelopes, books, or coin albums. These untouched gems are the ones that get collectors excited, because condition is everything. The difference between a common penny worth a few cents and a high-grade rarity worth thousands can be as simple as the shine, sharpness, and preservation. Before we explore the valuable versions of the 1946 penny, let's appreciate the design. The obverse side features the familiar portrait of Abraham Lincoln created by Victor David Brenner. His initials, VDB, rest subtly beneath the shoulder, a small detail that collectors love to study. The date 1946 sits to the right, and because this coin has no mint mark, it tells us that it was struck at the Philadelphia Mint. Philadelphia, being the primary mint at the time, produced the majority of the nation's circulating pennies, and unlike Denver or San Francisco, it did not put identifying letters on its coins during this era. The reverse displays the iconic wheat ears, a classic design adored by generations of collectors. These wheat stalks symbolize prosperity and growth, fitting for a coin minted during America's transition from war to recovery. The words 1 cent and United States of America are boldly centered, with e pluribus unum stretching across the top. Even though the design is simple, it carries a nostalgic charm that modern coins lack. Now, let's talk minting quality. The year 1946 is known for producing well-struck coins, but not all pieces came out perfectly. Some had weak details, some had uneven coloration, and some developed natural copper reactions over time. Because of these factors, collectors carefully study each coin under magnification, paying attention to the sharpness of Lincoln's cheekbone, the clarity of the beard, and the fine lines in the wheat stalks. The higher the detail, the higher the grade, and the higher the value. But condition isn't the only reason the 1946 penny can be valuable. Errors and varieties play a huge role in pushing prices upward. In the world of numismatics, even a small minting mistake can turn an ordinary penny into a valuable collectible. For example, some 1946 pennies show die cracks, tiny raised lines on the surface caused by damaged dies. Others may show doubled lettering, repunched dates, or clipped planchet errors. These varieties are not extremely common, but they do exist, and collectors will pay significantly more for strong, dramatic examples. Imagine finding a coin with a clear doubled date, or a visible lamination error. Such features instantly enhance its desirability. Another important factor is color. When grading copper coins, professionals use 3 designations: brown, red-brown, and red. Brown coins are the most common, showing darker tones from oxidation. Red-brown coins display a mixture of original red copper and brown toning. The rarest and most valuable are the red-designated coins. These have retained the bright copper color they left the mint with. A 1946 penny that still shines with its original mint red color is incredibly desirable, because very few have survived without darkening over the decades. Collectors know that grading can make or break a coin's value. A 1946 penny in circulated condition might only be worth a few cents to a few dollars. But once you enter the realm of high-grade mint state examples, the value increases dramatically. Mint State 64, Mint State 65, and Mint State 66 red examples are the real winners, and they can attract competitive bidding at auctions. Why? Because these grades indicate not only sharp details but also bright color, minimal marks, and overall exceptional preservation. If you want to identify whether your 1946 penny has potential, start by examining it under a bright light. Does it still have mint luster? Is Lincoln's hair sharp and detailed? Are there minimal scratches or contact marks? Do the wheat ears show definition all the way down to the lines within the stalks? Is the coin evenly colored? If your coin looks better than average, you might have something worth grading. And if it looks like it just recently left the mint, then you might be holding a treasure. Many collectors today search for rare 1946 pennies through old rolls of wheat pennies, estate sales, inherited collections, or coin shop bargain boxes. You never know where a high-grade piece might be hiding. Some of the most valuable ones discovered in recent years came from jars of mixed pennies that families had stored away for decades. It's always worth checking, because even though millions were made, finding a pristine example is like finding a needle in a haystack. Now let's talk about the story behind why some of these coins sell for tremendous amounts of money at auctions. It all boils down to rarity plus demand. Even though the 1946 penny is not rare in general, the high-grade, fully red examples, especially those with flawless surfaces, are extremely rare. Collectors with complete Lincoln cent sets are always hunting for the best examples, and competition drives prices higher. When two or more collectors desire the same top-quality coin for their registry set, they enter intense bidding wars. Prices can skyrocket in moments. It is also important to remember that collectors don't just buy the coin. They buy the history, the story, and the emotional connection. A 1946 penny represents the end of an era and the beginning of another. It symbolizes the resilience of a nation recovering from war and moving toward prosperity. Holding a pristine 1946 penny feels like holding a piece of American history frozen in time. And that emotional value contributes to its market value. Over the years, auction records have shown just how much a high-quality example can sell for. While circulated coins remain common and affordable, the specially preserved ones, the ones that look like they were minted yesterday, continue to reach impressive heights. Collectors with deep pockets are always waiting for the next flawless 1946 penny to appear, especially one with a red designation and minimal imperfections. It is these rare gems that fetch truly premium prices. So what should you do if you think you have one of these special pennies? First, store it properly. Avoid touching the surfaces with your fingers. The oils can damage the copper over time. Place the coin in a protective holder or a soft flip. Next, consider taking it to a reputable coin dealer for an opinion. If the coin looks exceptionally clean and vibrant, you may want to have it professionally graded. A high grade can multiply its value many times over. The world of coin collecting is full of surprises, and the 1946 no-mint mark Lincoln wheat penny is proof that even an ordinary coin from an ordinary year can hold extraordinary value when preserved in the right condition or born with the right minting error. Always check your old pennies, examine them carefully, and never underestimate the potential of a simple copper coin. Because among these humble pieces, treasures truly exist. And now, the highest recorded price for a rare, beautifully preserved 1946 no-mint mark Lincoln wheat penny sold at auction reached a remarkable $69,377. The story of the 1952 Lincoln wheat penny begins in a decade where America was rebuilding, reshaping its identity, and stepping boldly into a modern era. But while the nation was racing toward the future, the United States Mint in Denver was quietly producing a small copper coin that, decades later, would become one of the most fascinating discoveries for collectors, an ordinary-looking penny that today has been known to sell for unbelievable amounts of money. And in this video, we're diving deep into every detail, every hidden secret, and every surprising twist behind the 1952 DeWitt cent, a coin that has turned heads and opened wallets across the coin-collecting world. If you've ever wondered how a simple copper cent from 1952 can pull in massive value today, or how to identify the rarest varieties that could be sitting unnoticed inside your change jar, your coin album, or even an old box in your attic, then get ready. By the end of this video, you'll know exactly what makes this penny so desirable, what errors to look for, and what qualifies one of these coins to reach life-changing prices at auctions. To understand the true significance of the 1952 DeWitt penny, let's first step into the historical backdrop. The Denver Mint was operating at full force during the early 1950s. The war had ended, the economy was booming, industries were expanding, and millions of Americans were entering the workforce. The Denver Mint produced over 746 million pennies that year, yes, nearly 3/4 billion. And for most people, that massive mintage number would make the coin seem common, ordinary, and unremarkable. But coin collectors know something important: the quantity produced does not always determine the value. Instead, it's the quality, the rarity and condition, and the presence of striking errors that separates a multi-thousand-dollar penny from a coin worth just 1 cent. The 1952 D penny, minted from 95% copper and 5% tin and zinc, features the iconic portrait of Abraham Lincoln on the obverse, designed by Victor David Brenner. This design, first introduced in 1909, became one of the longest-running coin designs in United States history. The reverse features the famous wheat stalk symbolizing prosperity, framing the bold inscription 1 cent, a design beloved by collectors and a nostalgic reminder of America's past. Now, even though most 1952 D pennies circulated heavily, very few survived in pristine, untouched condition. And that's the first key to the coin's value: grade. A 1952 D in poor condition might bring only a few cents. But find this coin in uncirculated condition: sharp lines, original red luster, no scratches or contact marks, and the value begins climbing rapidly. Collectors compete fiercely for coins that show blazing red surfaces, a rarity considering copper's natural tendency to darken and tone over time. But what transforms the 1952 D from a few dollar collectible into a high-end auction superstar? Errors. And not just any errors, specific, highly desirable ones. Let's talk about the most notable. First is the repunched mint mark, commonly known as the RPM. During the 1950s, mint marks were hand-punched onto the dies, which means misalignment or multiple impressions could occur. These small variations, though unintended, became treasures for collectors. A strong, clearly visible D over D mint mark, especially when the doubling is dramatic, can skyrocket the penny's value. Some RPM varieties show the second punch shifted in such a way that you can see overlapping metal inside or outside the primary mint mark. For collectors, this is a jackpot. Then there are the less common but even more thrilling errors: off-center strikes, die cracks, clipped planchets, broad strikes, and the ever-fascinating die break known as the BIE error. This occurs when a die crack forms between the letters B and E in the word liberty, creating the appearance of a tiny vertical line and making the letters look like Liberty. While these errors might seem small, they are beloved among enthusiasts, and can raise the penny's value significantly when found in excellent condition. Now imagine combining a dramatic RPM error with flawless mint condition. Suddenly, this little copper coin becomes a rare artifact sought by high-end collectors willing to bid jaw-dropping amounts. And that brings us to the most exciting part: record-breaking auction sales. While most 1952 D pennies sell for modest amounts, a select few, preserved perfectly and paired with striking visual appeal, have crossed into legendary territory. One particular example graded at the highest level, showing full red luster and virtually no imperfections, stunned collectors and set a new standard for the coin's value. That sale became a turning point, proving once again that even a common coin can transform into an extraordinary collectible when the stars align: quality, rarity, and desirability. But what makes this specific date and mint combination so compelling for collectors? Part of the fascination lies in challenge. Collectors love completing sets, and finding a fully red, high-grade 1952 D is far more difficult than it seems. Copper is delicate. It reacts easily to oxygen, moisture, oils from fingertips, and environmental changes. So a coin surviving more than 70 years with its original fiery red shine is practically a miracle. Add to that the thrill of searching through rolls, bags, estate collections, and old personal savings jars. Many collectors dream of being the one who finds that perfect coin, the untouched beauty hidden away for decades, waiting to be rediscovered. And yes, discoveries like this do happen. Some of the most valuable 1952 D pennies surface not in specialized collections, but in unexpected places: old cigar boxes, forgotten jars, inherited coin stashes, and unsearched rolls sold at estate sales. So how do you know if your 1952 D penny is worth serious money? First, examine its color. Does it appear brown, red-brown, or full red? Coins with blazing red surfaces are the most valuable. Second, check its strike. Are Lincoln's hair strands sharp and defined? Are the wheat lines on the reverse fully visible? Next, inspect the mint mark under magnification. Look for signs of doubling, overlapping impressions, or distortion. Any noticeable RPM could significantly increase value. It's also important to examine the surface for scratches, dents, or spotting. Even a tiny mark can drastically reduce the value of a high-end coin. That's why collectors often send their coins to professional grading companies like PCGS or NGC. A certified grade not only confirms authenticity but also adds value and trust for potential buyers. And here's the truth many beginners don't realize. The difference between a $20 penny and a 5-figure penny is often in the tiny details, the ones only a trained eye or a microscope can reveal. Collectors and investors love this story because it blends history, rarity, and excitement. A coin that once bought a piece of candy, a newspaper, or a handful of nuts could now be worth more than a car. And even with millions minted, only a microscopic percentage survive today in the conditions required to command premium prices. And that leads us to the moment you've been waiting for, the incredible top value achieved by a 1952 Lincoln wheat penny at auction. After decades hidden away, this particular coin emerged as one of the finest known examples, a shining red masterpiece of American numismatics. When the bidding finally settled, the crowd was stunned. The coin sold for $57,366. The camera opens with a soft, warm spotlight focusing on a single copper coin resting on a velvety dark surface. The coin glows with that historic reddish-brown tone only vintage American cents carry. The narrator's voice enters slowly, steady and inviting, pulling viewers instantly into the story of a coin that has traveled through time, pockets, drawers, and perhaps even generations. Today, we dive deep into the mysterious, intriguing, and surprisingly valuable world of the United States of America 1954 mint mark Lincoln 1-cent wheat penny, a coin many collectors overlook but should absolutely pay attention to. Imagine a penny minted more than 60 years ago, during a time when America was rebuilding, families were growing, and the optimism of a new era was taking shape. The year 1954 was marked by shifting culture, advancing technology, and a booming economic surge following the previous decade of hardship. In the middle of these changes, at the Denver Mint, millions of Lincoln cents were struck, yet only a fraction of them have survived in top-tier condition, and an even smaller number have achieved the spectacular prices that shocked collectors worldwide. The viewer now sees a slow zoom on the wheat stalks on the reverse of the coin. These iconic wheat ears represent one of the most beloved coin designs in American numismatic history. The wheat penny design, first introduced in 1909 to celebrate the centennial birth of Abraham Lincoln, carried simplicity, pride, and beauty. With two stalks of wheat curving gracefully along the sides, the coin symbolizes agriculture, prosperity, and American strength. Even though millions were made, each penny holds a story, especially the ones with visible mint marks like the tiny D4 Denver placed just below the date. Collectors today constantly search for hidden treasures, and the 1954 penny continues to surprise experts. While most of these coins look ordinary and circulate with thousands of others, the real gems are the ones that escaped scratches, bag marks, heavy wear, and environmental corrosion. Those near-pristine survivors are the ones auction houses crave and collectors fight for. Every year, more of these coins disappear into long-term collections, shrinking the supply available to new hunters. The script now transitions to a narrative tone, inviting viewers to imagine themselves discovering this coin. Maybe you spot it while sorting through an old jar of pennies. Perhaps it slips out of a box inherited from a grandparent. Or you notice the date while searching through pocket change at a desk, in a drawer, or even under couch cushions. The thrill of recognizing the Denver Mint mark and the date 1954 can instantly turn an ordinary moment into one filled with excitement, because knowledge transforms a common object into a prize. To most people, a penny is just a penny. But to collectors, this specific 1-cent coin can represent unexpected profit, especially when graded highly by professional services. Condition is the key factor. Even a small increase in grade can make a huge difference in value. A 1954 penny in average circulated condition may trade hands for small amounts, but one in brilliant uncirculated condition, full of original luster and sharp detail, becomes a completely different story. Numismatists love the 1954 because it comes with fascinating varieties. Some show repunched mint marks, doubling effects, or minor dye imperfections that occurred during the minting process. These varieties excite specialists because they make the coin more unique, more desirable, and sometimes significantly more valuable. When the Denver Mint produced billions of cents across the 1950s, small errors did escape quality control, and these imperfections have now become collectibles. Let's imagine holding one. You tilt the coin under a light, and the reddish gold shimmer dances along the surface. The fine lines in Lincoln's beard remain crisp, the date sharply defined, and even the wheat lines on the back look bold. That level of preservation doesn't happen by accident. It happens when a coin is tucked away, protected, and untouched for decades. Coins like that can produce auction results that surprise even the most experienced collectors. We shift deeper into history. During the mid-1950s, pennies were a part of everyday life. Children collected them in piggy banks. Shopkeepers handed them back as change. People tossed them into fountains for good luck. Countless individuals carried these very coins without ever imagining that one day, certain examples would be worth more than a new car. It's this blend of nostalgia and unexpected value that makes the 1954 penny so captivating for modern audiences. Now, imagine the story of one particular penny that traveled unnoticed for decades. Perhaps it was minted early one morning in Denver, fresh and glowing. It slid into a cloth bag with hundreds of others. It might have been shipped across states, arriving in a bank, then placed into circulation. Maybe it was spent on candy, on postage, on a newspaper, or given to a child for a school lunch. Through thousands of hands, it journeyed until finally someone recognized its condition and preserved it. That single moment of recognition is what separates a valuable piece of history from being lost forever. The script slows for dramatic effect. Collectors always emphasize that value comes from rarity, but rarity isn't just about how many coins were made, it's about how many survived in superb condition. Over time, environmental damage, misuse, cleaning, and circulation reduced the number of top-quality coins dramatically. That's why finding a 1954 penny with brilliant surfaces, no spots, no stains, no abrasions, and no dulling is like discovering a tiny treasure from another era. Auction houses have documented several impressive sales over the years. These extraordinary results come from coins carefully preserved in exceptional grades. When collectors see such numbers, it reignites the desire to search old bank rolls, coin jars, flea market boxes, and dusty attic forgotten items. At this moment in the video, the narrator encourages viewers to pause and think. How many 1954 pennies may still be hiding somewhere? How many sit in old collections waiting to be rediscovered? How many lie unrecognized in change jars across the world? The mystery of the unknown is part of the thrill, because that one incredible penny could be in your possession right now. The story now turns to metal composition. The coin is made of 95% copper, a material that naturally changes color and texture over time. Some coins darken, others turn chocolate brown, while high-grade ones keep their original fiery glow. Collectors value originality, so untouched coins with natural luster fetch the highest prices. Copper coins in general are harder to preserve compared to silver or nickel, making the top-end survivors much more desirable. That's another reason the 1954 penny can command impressive value. Copper reacts quickly to the environment, so a flawless piece is truly a rare sight. Another aspect collectors consider is strike quality. Not every coin leaves the mint with perfect impressions. Some have soft strikes, weak letters, or missing detail caused by worn dies. But those few with powerful, sharp strikes stand out immediately. Combine that with perfect surfaces and glowing color, and you have a coin collectors chase enthusiastically. As the script continues, the narrator builds suspense, reminding viewers that coin collecting is not just a hobby but an adventure. Every coin tells a story, and every story adds value. Whether you are a beginner exploring your first collection or an experienced hobbyist with thousands of coins already cataloged, the 1954 Wheat penny carries a charm and a legacy that appeals to everyone. The video now approaches the climax. The audience anticipates the reveal, the figure, the moment where the value of the most exceptional example comes forward. The narrator's voice deepens slightly, emphasizing each word to enhance the dramatic tension. Viewers lean in, waiting. And finally, with calm but powerful delivery, the narrator reveals that one magnificent, high-grade 1954 Lincoln Wheat penny reached an astonishing price of $43,466. In the world of American coin collecting, there are moments when an ordinary-looking penny suddenly becomes the center of extraordinary attention. And today, we are diving deep into one such incredible piece of numismatic history. The United States of America 1957 no-mint mark Lincoln 1-cent wheat penny. At first glance, it's the kind of coin that millions of Americans once carried in their pockets, tossed into jars on kitchen shelves, and handed over casually at grocery stores. But beneath its humble brown copper surface lies a story of value, rarity, mistakes, history, and the thrill of finding something worth far more than 1 cent. This is the coin that continues to surprise collectors year after year, not because it is the rarest wheat penny ever minted, but because certain examples of it have become extremely desirable thanks to their condition, striking quality, and overall preservation. Imagine being handed a small cup of pennies from a relative, or buying a cheap roll of old wheat cents from a flea market, and suddenly spotting a shiny 1957 no-mint mark penny that looks almost untouched by time. For a moment you might wonder, could this be worth something? Could this be one of the coins collectors chase with fierce determination? The answer could very well be yes. While millions were produced, very few were saved in perfect condition, and that is where the story becomes interesting. To understand why the 1957 no-mint mark Lincoln Wheat penny has become a coin that collectors follow closely, we need to look back at the era in which it was minted. The year was 1957. The United States was in a time of growth, excitement, scientific advancement, and cultural transformation. The Lincoln Wheat penny had already been in production for nearly half a century, originally introduced in 1909 to honor the 100th anniversary of Abraham Lincoln's birth. The wheat stalks on the reverse had become iconic, symbolizing prosperity and strength during decades of American history, including 2 world wars, the Great Depression, and the rise of modern America. By 1957, most everyday Americans didn't think twice about the pennies they used, but collectors were beginning to understand something important. The iconic wheat design was nearing its end. Just 1 year later, in 1958, the wheat reverse would be produced for the final time before the mint switched permanently to the Lincoln Memorial design in 1959. This made the 1957 issues part of the final chapter of the classic wheat penny era, giving them permanent historical significance. Everyone who collects pennies knows that the last years of any design series are always important, especially when they survive in extraordinary condition. The 1957 no-mint mark penny was minted in Philadelphia, and while the number of coins produced was high, most of them lived a very hard life. These pennies traveled across counters, sat in dirty pockets, fell into vending machines, scraped against other coins for decades, and slowly lost their original luster. Only a tiny fraction were saved in pristine, original, untouched condition. Those few survivors are the ones that command the highest prices at auctions today, but collectors do not only look for a nice shine. What makes a coin truly stand out is a combination of factors such as sharp details in Lincoln's hair and beard, strong definition around the lettering, absence of scratches, full original mint brilliance, and a surface that has never been cleaned or polished. The eye appeal is everything. When a 1957 no-mint mark penny remains in such remarkable shape, especially in high-grade red mint state, it becomes a treasure that collectors will compete fiercely to acquire. Let's talk about the most exciting part: the possibility of errors and varieties. The mid-1950s were known for producing some memorable mistakes, such as doubled die cents and striking errors that slipped through quality control. While the 1957 penny does not have a famous doubled die like the legendary 1955, it does have minor varieties and striking anomalies that increase desirability. Off-center strikes, clipped planchets, die cracks, and misaligned dies can all transform an ordinary penny into a more valuable coin. Some errors have sold for hundreds, even thousands, depending on how dramatic the mistake appears. Collectors love coins that tell the story of the minting process gone unexpectedly wrong, and the 1957 wheat penny offers just enough of these surprises to keep the hunt exciting. Now imagine discovering a coin that not only escaped circulation but kept its brilliance for nearly 70 years. The copper color on high-grade examples ranges from a soft reddish glow to a blazing fire-red surface that looks as though it was struck yesterday. These are the pennies that professional grading companies like PCGS and NGC award their highest mint state ratings to. When a 1957 no-mint mark penny receives a top-tier grade, especially those in the MS-67 or MS-68 range, its value can explode far beyond what most collectors expect. The story becomes even more thrilling when these coins appear in auctions. Bidders from all around the world gather with one goal: securing a coin that hardly anyone else owns in such a stunning level of perfection. When the auctioneer's voice echoes through the room or an online auction countdown reaches the final seconds, the price can jump dramatically as collectors place last-minute bids. Some people walk away with an investment piece, others walk away stunned at how high the final sale climbed. And that is exactly why understanding the value of the 1957 no-mint mark Lincoln penny is so important. Not all coins from this year are worth big money, but the special ones, the perfect ones, can bring life-changing prices. One of the most interesting things about this coin is how many people still overlook it. Many individuals sorting through old collections focus on earlier dates from the 1900s, believing those older coins automatically hold more value. Others look only for mint marks such as D or S, thinking no mint mark means the coin is ordinary. But in reality, the Philadelphia issues can be just as valuable, especially in superb condition. This is why collectors always say, never underestimate a wheat penny. Even the ones that appear common can shock you. When people discover a valuable coin, they often ask, why do collectors pay so much for something so small? The answer is passion, history, and rarity. Coins are pieces of America's past. They carry stories of the people who touched them, the events happening when they were minted, and the artistic craftsmanship of the era. The 1957 penny represents the end of a design beloved by generations. It symbolizes a period before modern coinage changed forever. And in the world of collecting, owning something perfectly preserved from a disappearing era is like holding time itself. Collectors also know that high-grade wheat pennies are becoming harder to find each year. As time passes, more coins become damaged, cleaned improperly, or lost. Only a limited number will survive long enough to enter the elite levels of the market. This natural reduction in supply raises value steadily, especially for coins like the 1957 no-mint mark wheat penny that already have a strong collector base. So if you ever come across one of these pennies, maybe in a dusty drawer, maybe in an inherited collection, maybe even in a random coin roll, don't overlook it. Study its color. Check its sharpness. Look for subtle signs that it might be something special. Because every great discovery begins with someone curious enough to take a second look. And now, we've reached the moment many viewers wait for. What is the highest price this coin has achieved? What amount has made collectors stop and stare in awe? A flawless example, preserved with extraordinary brilliance and graded among the finest known, has sold for an astonishing total of $39,999.